Let's wake up.
All right, listen. We had a pre-call, and what we agreed is that we didn't want this to be a panel conversation, even though it looks like it's going to be one. Instead, we're going to have a dinner conversation without dinner, and you all are sitting at the table with us. So that's what's going to happen here. Since we've done introductions, I'm not going to go down the line and ask everybody to introduce themselves. And we're just going to get into this conversation. But what we thought was, if this is about what it means to be a consumer, we should actually ask the consumers this question. And so that's what we did. We used the user testing platform to ask consumers of the brands that you see represented on stage what they think it means to be a consumer in 2026. The TLDR, it was in many ways sort of unsurprising. People were talking about they wanted brands to be authentic. They wanted transparency. They want to understand what's behind the price, what's going into the products. They want what I think we've always wanted, which is a quality product at a reasonable price, and we don't want to feel duped along the way. And so maybe that's the place to start, is what do you make of that? That is sort of the traditional, this is the same stuff we've been hearing for a long time.
I mean, you missed the call, but I said we watched this
call,
video,
sorry.
and the video basically said it just had 15 people, and all of them had a different thing that they wanted from a brand. Whether that was price transparency from the tariffs, whether that was having a strong political alignment, whether that was having a social good aspect, whether that was just like, health, like ingredients that are good for you. And we finished the video, and I had said, it's like my takeaway from this is we're kind of fucked. It's like, because if every single consumer in this video is matching up what people actually feel based off of the data and research that's happening, how do you build a brand platform or a communication strategy around meeting every single person's need?
I think for me, I feel like the entry point is distrust, and you have to earn the customer's trust over time. Every time we put out a piece of content or any campaign that we do, we ask ourselves, is this building trust or is this eroding trust? Why or why not? But I think, especially with Gen Z, all the data shows they do not trust brands. You have to go and earn it, and showing and telling and bringing transparency to whatever it is that you're creating, making, building, doing is table stakes, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we want to jump into the AI of it all. I could share the story from last night, but...
No, so I'll say a few things. First of all, somebody said something really insightful to me recently, which was, everybody says, don't just stand there, do something. And he said, more people should say, don't just do something, stand there. Right? And basically, if you think about that for a second, like, you actually take a step back and even just ignore the spreadsheets of research for a second. Like, let's understand what people have gone through. They went through a pandemic that did happen. Right? I know we're quote unquote beyond it, but like that did happen, and that changed everybody's digital nativity, right? So many more people than ever are Instacarting their groceries, DoorDashing their, food, right? They're using their phone first. That's the first thing. Secondly, there is insane political ramifications of this country going on right now. They're throwing people through an absolute like doom spiral loop, right? And then the AI of it all that just like really reared its head in the last couple of years. And people are like, should I ask my friends what I should do? Should I search using AI? Is AI my friend now? What do I do? What do I do for recipes? So I think and then the last thing I'll say is like, what is feeding the AI? And if you actually look at the stats, the AI, the LLMs are actually taking information 40% from Reddit, 25% from Wikipedia, right? Places like YouTube. And so as brands, it's like, are we considering the ramifications of all these things? Are we in those spaces? And the video that we were going to show, there was a lot of pain behind those eyes. And I think it's interesting to understand like they are lost. We are all lost. And it's like, who do you trust, right? It used to be like, oh, it's swung from the brands to the people mistrust brands, and now they only trust people. And now you're on social media, and there's a billion influencers for everything, and there's all kinds of crazy shit being said on the internet. And now you're like, I don't know who to trust. Do I trust brands again? I don't know. So go ahead, Nick. It's an interesting time.
This is the first time where I've actually felt, as a marketer, it's easier. than it used to be because there's fewer inputs to then guide people in their decisions. And they don't trust the brands, they don't trust the aggregators, but they are trusting whatever it is they trust. And to your point, 65% of that is through two mediums that we could easily set up and run without any regulatory constraints.
Yep.
So from that perspective, it's scary because if brands were to take advantage of that, that could be a very dark situation. But at the end of the day, I still don't think much has changed. It's just gotten a little bit simpler.
I think you said in the pre-call, Nick, that when we listened to it, you were like, I can hack all those things. Yeah. I can hack this to get them to buy anything. Yeah. And I think that's where it gets to your point. You can go down that dark path. That makes me sound
evil, but it's because my background was CMO at TikTok, and we literally hacked viral trends. So does everyone remember the ocean spray situation? Yeah, we manufactured that whole thing. So the fact that I know you can find ways to leverage the algo and the media buys to then make something happen in culture makes me realize that back then was a much harder proposition, whereas in today's world with the LLMs feeding all the same inputs, you could easily take over Reddit and get a bunch of people to post things. You can take over Wikipedia because it's basically free to get someone to like add things on there. And if 65% of that's feeding the aggregators, then you could basically take over 3 or 4 of the LLMs and have your brand pop up first.
I think consumers think they're being tricked all the time, though. There's this nature, especially with, I'll tell a quick story from the Bobbie side. AI has led to so much distrust, and people don't want to feel like they're being fed content from bots. So we had this influencer on TikTok. She's really beautiful. She has a YouTube channel. And all of the comments were like, this is AI. How dare you, Bobbie? And we're in the comments and we're like, no, like this is a real mom. And then we had our head of creator do a talking head over the video and saying, hey, like we never use AI in our advertising. We only use real parents who are using Bobbie for their baby. And then the comments on that was like, this looks like AI. Like people were just, the way in which they approach things as the assumption that they're trying to be tricked. So then I was like, well, maybe I should go and do a third talking head on the talking head on the video. Oh, I'm going to come with like my little like depuffing eye patches, raw dog in the morning and just be like, do I look like AI, you guys? Okay. So I do think that again, it goes back to like, everybody thinks they're getting served mass-produced content that a human didn't touch, and you almost have to double down depending on what it is you're selling or who your consumer is. But for us as moms, it's like we want people to know that we are moms behind this company, and there is no AI touching our content, our advertising, our marketing on the output. And it's really important to us that you feel that connection with our team and our product too. But yeah, the distrust is crazy.
That's a principle you have to stick to and be consistent with. Because as soon as you have someone on the team touch into that world of AI, all that credibility would likely go away. So
that's the key too, though, because you both had brought up something which I think is really interesting, and it makes me think of when I was in therapy. Everybody should go to therapy. Like we often fight against accepting where we are. And the current consumer mindset, a lot of brands are trying to fight against how the consumer feels. We know now that consumers don't trust brands and they trust influencers at almost a 20-point difference. We know now that people think anything that looks not real has to be AI. You know, Taylor Swift is getting destroyed right now because they think that her music video is generated with artificial intelligence. We don't know if it was, but that's how the consumer feels. The consumer is looking for ways to take down brands right now. You can look at all of these instances, American Eagle, Elf, Duolingo, all of these brands, they're looking for any reason. And you can do everything you can to your point, which is you can kind of do as much as you can to future-proof yourself, but accepting that this is where the consumer is rather than telling them, no, that's not who we are, and trying to jam that in their brain. There's a part where at a certain point in time, we as marketers have to basically accept that this is the landscape rather than trying to build strategies and platforms to fight against it.
Yeah, and I heard Nick on a panel this morning, and you were talking about how like gathering in real life is so important moving forward. And I think like that's one of the ways in which you fundamentally cannot fake it, you know, in spite of people saying that rallies were AI generated and whatever during the run up to the election. I think that that's a great way to do it. And then you can connect IRL to URL. I loved your your nomenclature from this morning. You called it the social honeypot. You want to talk about your jacket and social honeypotting?
Yeah, I'm going to the extreme because I tend to go to brands when they're in a bit of a crisis. So I just took on Ciroc recently. Maybe some of you have heard of Ciroc. It's a vodka. So I'm not doing any traditional campaigns. We're only doing in real life events that will generate social content that will drive PR headlines and nothing else. So I'm putting 100% of my marketing budget towards that as a test to see if this will help revive a brand and get it back on track, because I don't think people trust the things they see. I don't think anything I could put on TV about Ciroc will make anyone feel any different about it. But if I have you come to an event and you experience a pickleball tournament or a golf thing or an outing that makes you feel a little bit more like an emotional connection to it, and you get some of the social credit for being part of that whole thing and being able to post about it, I think there's a lot better opportunity for us to win people over who've left the brand than to throw a 30-second advertisement at you. So that's going to be a extreme, absolute extreme case of what I'm going to try to test. And if it works, great. If not, I won't be here next year.
I want to add on to that because I think community and in real life is one of the first things that gets cut if you get tight on resources, if you're doing a campaign. At Bobbie, it's so, so important to us that we always connect people in real life, because if you're a parent or if you're a new mom, you are lonely, right? Like, it's such a lonely journey sometimes, especially coming out of COVID and all the COVID moms. And when you can get people to connect, to share stories, to be with each other, there's tears and there's just this spark and this energy. And what we did is, I was like, oh, Claire's our data analyst who works for the data performance team. I'm like, you should go to the in real life meetup in San Diego. We'd love your help. So Claire goes, she has such an experience. She comes back when we have to do the reporting out on our San Diego takeover we just did back in September. And she's like, there is no measurement that we can put towards this. This was amazing. I was in tears with our community. And it's like, pull people in from across your team that need to feel what it's like to experience that community. It doesn't just have to be the front of house marketer that's there handing out cans or handing out things and shaking hands with customers and giving hugs. The more you can pull people in cross-functionally, the more that they will understand what is so special and magical about those in real life experiences, and they will want to also continue to invest in them.
I feel like it's interesting when I think this through, right? There's been this asymmetry between the marketer and the consumer, where the marketer has all of these really sophisticated tools at their disposal to manipulate information and create a moment to try to convince the consumer to take action, right? And the consumer is largely unaware of all of the science and all of the data and all of the tools that are behind the scenes. But I feel like the consumer is starting to wake up, right? All the glut of AI created content, they're starting to go, wait a minute, there's a lot more here. And now we're starting to value that authenticity of being together, where you can look someone in the eye and you can see their face and you can hear the emotion in their voice and you can actually have that level of connection. And I think from my perspective, it's happening on both sides of the fence, right? Where the consumer is going like, hey, I need to see you in real life. I need to come to your activation and feel like I'm a part of this, because that, if I can touch it, I can trust it, right? But then the marketer is also going, I have so much data now. And if the LLM is scraping Reddit, how much of that is real, right? So now I actually need to go ask my customer and connect with them to get that real feedback, so that I can create that authenticity. Because if I'm trying to build something based on Reddit, that may not be actually what's going to move the needle and feel authentic.
Yeah, I would say like the evolution of marketing organizations, how we build our teams, what our teams are made up of, need to adapt to the times. And that is with regards to the actual people and their lived experiences. So, somebody was saying earlier, like, do you want to look up and be Snapchat and have a bunch of 45-year-olds trying to build products for, 18-year-olds, right? Like, you have to keep up. You have to have people that have the lived experience of who you're trying to serve, right? Are you diverse enough? Are you young enough? Are you old enough? Like, whatever that question is, who is feeding the information into these systems, right? So, you have to be able to have people that have the experience of what you're trying to develop empathy against. And then I think it's like, do you have people that are serving experiential? Do you have people that are serving communities, right? All of a sudden, places like Reddit and Quora and Nextdoor and all these communities are places that people can go to get, like information that they believe, whether it's true or not, perceptively they believe to be true and unfiltered, right? And they can get answers that they can trust. And so the whole like system has changed, and it's been supercharged. And meanwhile, there's this backdrop of chaos, and so people are just looking for places to go. And I think like the ramifications that has for our teams, do we lean more into social, right? And I'm sure Nate has thoughts on this, right? And do we lean more into IRL? I think like what Nick's doing as basically this experiment and going completely away from traditional campaigns, because today doesn't call for that, right? It's like, you shouldn't just do it because that's the way it's always been done. That's the quickest way to actually get fired. I think actually what you're doing is probably gives you a better chance of success than had you just tried to create some big ass Ciroc campaign that lasts for a few months, and then you have mental decay over the next few months.
I mean, that's the goal. But I also realized early in my career that consumers can also be your biggest ambassadors. When I was at Taco Bell back in the day, we held a speakeasy event where we took everyone's phone away. And the funny thing was we got more buzz from that event than any other event we'd done, because people would put out on Twitter after the event was done saying, I can't believe Shaquille O'Neal was there eating tacos. He wasn't there. I can't believe Dylan Francis was DJing. He also wasn't there. I can't believe, they named all these celebrities that they wish were there, and they put it out on social, because nobody had any social proof. It actually turned into our favor, so that everyone thought that every story was real and that Taco Bell threw the greatest party that ever happened without us spending that much money on it. So I do feel if consumers are used in the right way, they might actually become a better marketing asset to you than any campaign could ever do.
That's one other thing. Or go ahead, Nate. Yeah.
I was going to say, so I am most people in this room's like least favorite person, because I'm a management consultant. It's like, so I come in and I terrify marketing teams. But what I can tell you is that there are two things in all of the work and all the brands that I've worked with over the course of the past 2 years that are creating chaos within marketing organizations. Number one, and I apologize to anybody in this room who qualifies under this, number one is C-level executives who think that they are the consumer, or they trust their opinions of their children over the actual experts in the room. Yeah. That's a factual statement. It's like, and number two, it is a reverence to numbers, measurement, CAC, and ROAS as dictating what we should be spending. All of the brand lift studies in the world in a social media, TikTok, Threads, X, Substack, Discord, Reddit world will not measure brand love the way that we think that they will, okay? The necessity for in real life is so important, what you're doing right now, just because you can measure a smile, but it doesn't hit a spreadsheet. You know what I mean? You can measure a user-generated content, but because you can't see how many people viewed that story, you can't measure it. Okay, so brands that are understanding that omni-channel is no longer which media channel we are moving in, but how are we actually getting people to love us, and in what different areas are we doing it? That is, to me, what the evolution of omni-channel is actually happening, which is where can we get a consumer to actually buy into us, and how often at a frequency rate can we get them to do that? Whether that is in real life events, influencer activations, affiliate marketing, paid social, or the bus stop ad.
3 things quickly. 1, I know that if we have the global head of social for Taco Bell nodding her head, then you're right. Okay. 2, he says he's a management consultant now, but he was the social lead for American Eagle, who built up the brand before Sydney. and 3, the other thing that was said during Nick's panel earlier with Jill Kress, who is the CMO of H&R Block, and they do amazing work for being a tax platform that's 70 years old, is she just talked about the not only importance, but the necessity to be bold, like bold AF. Like if you think about the brands that are winning right now, they are not bland. Like they are out there. They are, I'll call you out, Taco Bell jumping into golf. No, I love it. I'm just saying, like, these are the things that, like 1 + 1 maybe was like, that doesn't make any sense, but like it actually equals 3. And it's also like getting out in front of, being able to identify trends, getting out in front of trends, and then executing something that is unexpected and delightful. And the traditional measurement, to your point, Kim, like you can't measure those intangibles that lead to text, that leads to, that leads to word of mouth, that leads to a flywheel that makes the later on in your funnel more efficient, because you're actually creating connection and you're actually creating unaided awareness where you're going to become top of mind if you are consistent. And I think what I love about Bobbie is that you guys have been like unequivocally consistent, and you know who you are. And, for anybody that doesn't know Bobbie, like they put purpose before profit every day. They primarily have incredibly high quality formula, but they are for anybody who is a parent. If you're breastfeeding exclusively and you're not buying any of their formula and you are having trouble, they have lactation consultants. They're not here to just like peddle you formula, even though the internet sometimes will be like, ooh, evil formula woman. So maybe you can comment on this because, and I'm saying this as a parent as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Of course.
I think that sometimes you have to walk the walk, right? Like we had to ask for a significant investment to build a services platform that would be serving someone who might not ever become our customer. But it was an investment in who we are as a brand and what we stand for. And if we're going to sit there and say that we stand for every feeding journey and we're only selling formula, then we're not making good on that promise. So we have to make that investment into services for exclusive breastfeeders, combo feeders, all the way through to vitamin D supplements that somebody might need coming out of the hospital, and they may never need a can of Bobbie, and that's okay. But I think that you have to, if you're going to say something, you need to do something, you need to look at your intentions on that, and you need to walk it all the way through.
I mean, I think this feels like diet and exercise, right? Like we all want to do all of the fancy things, but at the end of the day, the consumer
takes Ozempic.
Just wants you. The consumer really just wants you to take a point of view and be authentic to that point of view, and follow through. Right? Follow through. Live the promise. Don't lie to me. Don't make me feel like I didn't get a good deal or I got duped or the product wasn't the way you represented it. And I think we talked in the pre-call a little bit about how the movement went from I don't trust brands because brands are telling me that their product is the best. Of course, they're going to tell me that. They have a monetary interest. I'm going to go and trust the internet. I'm going to read the Amazon reviews. I'm going to go read Reddit because that's real. And now the consumer is starting to come back to the brands because they're like, oh shit, it's the Wild West out there. And now I don't know, is this real? Are these, click farmed reviews from Vietnam posing as real consumers? Like what, they don't know who to trust. And I think for me, it's interesting to hear all of you talking. And the thing that I keep coming back to is, every one of you have talked about the importance of an authentic experience that is more often than not measured qualitatively, right? Like I love it's measured in, smile doesn't hit the spreadsheet. And I think that's something that we as marketers have to sort of come back to. Go ask your customer, go watch their face. It's not just about like how many clicks, what's the behavior. It's about, did they smile? Did they have a good experience? Are they going to tell somebody else? Yeah. One like additional layer on top of AI, on top of politics, on top of the pandemic, is kind of the next generational transition. And, one thing that I would say to all the marketers in the room is so many people are, really, really trying to figure out how to learn AI, how to what tools and, how do I do this? How do I supercharge my business? It's on every panel. And I think I made a point last time we chatted, which is so many people are learning about the tools, but they're not actually paying attention to who the tools will exist to serve. And so just as a fun fact reminder, Gen Z is 28 now. They were born in 1997, right? A lot of them are not in college anymore. They are in a different season of life, and so are we, the millennials. And by 2030, the Gen Zers are going to have $12 trillion in buying power. Do you know about them? Do you have people on your team that are them? Right? Go back to the
marketing 101, know thy customer. And if you haven't been focused on learning everything you can about Gen Z, immersing yourself into them, what are they going to, what do they care about? Not at a surface level. And also, by the way, Gen Z is not a monolith, right? So kind of the different iterations of them. And I think like Nathan, Nick, like these guys are experts on understanding culture, understanding that generation, but most people are not. And so if you're like, okay, I've done it, I've mastered AI, I know how to do this. It's like, well, first of all, again, who is inputting the prompts into the AI? And second of all, like, do you understand who you're trying to serve such that you can do it effectively?
At a base level, when I was thinking about this topic of like what consumers are looking for in 2026, I feel like people just want to have fun again.
Yeah.
Like there's so much shit that's been piled onto them. You've mentioned 8 different things that I'm like, I don't know why I moved back to the US from London, but it's like all there. And I think, you know, as we're doing our research on what people are looking for when we look at the events and social and content, they just want something that makes them have fun and like feel good. Yeah. So as marketers of the next year, I'm just going to focus my team's efforts on like what will bring value to them in entertainment or inspiring or like a fun manner that just makes them, you know, forget about everything. For just a second.
I think like one thing, just because I come from a social marketing background, like, oh man, I really want us to retire the word authenticity. I'm so desperate to get rid of the word authentic and authenticity. I know it's like,
sorry, I used it like 5 times.
It's like you take it, you right after me. Just so like it's just like we put so much prioritization on authenticity, and it becomes manufactured as a result of it. It becomes and challenging thing is it goes through corporate comms and legal usually before it hits the desk of everybody else.
I do, like Kim, I agree. Like I do think it's like the ones that don't talk about it are the ones who are it, right? It's like don't talk about it, be about it, right? It's like Patagonia, don't buy this jacket, but if you happen to buy a jacket from us, right?
Authenticity in 2026, it's just don't make people have to search to figure out who you are or what you stand for. Like don't make it so difficult. Like we're in a truly polarized situation in this country right now where it is actually hypothetically more beneficial for a brand to make a strong political stance about where they are than try to be politically neutral. That is a current state. You look at a brand like Target, which has been canceled by everybody over the course of the past year. Everybody wants to cancel Target for X, Y, and Z. So in this situation, you don't have to make a strong political stance about where you are. You just have to make people know who you are without them having to search for the information, or so that when the cancel post comes, because if you work for $1 billion brand in this room, you will get canceled eventually for some reason. It will just happen. Like, just make sure that you have enough people who love you, who can fight for you in that space.
Yeah, I think let's finish on Kim in a sec, but I think it's like one or the other, right? It's either what Kim's about to talk about with Bobbie, which is like legitimate transparency and action, like very coordinated, intentional action, or it's what Nick talked about, which is like liquid death. And like it's fun. It's like ridiculousness. It's entertainment. It's like, oh, we just want to make you feel something that makes you want to choose us because you associate that with like a good time.
I think people are so tired of performative give back as well. It's like when you say you support a cause, I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but this is bad, maybe I should call this out, but Victoria's Secret tried to put themselves out there to give back for breast cancer, and somebody asked in the comments, what's the percentage? And it was only 2%, and they got completely dragged by the breast cancer community for that. And I'm not dragging them because I think that they did what they could, and probably when it got through corporate comms and legal and finance, like that's where they landed, and it was something is always better than nothing, and I think no good deed goes unpunished no matter what in marketing, but it's also like people expect more of companies, and they don't just want a blanket statement. They don't just want you to write a check and hand it to a nonprofit. They want to see, what are you doing? How are you bringing your community along? How are you galvanizing them? How are you educating them? How are you making them kind of your troops that are ready to go to battle of whatever that fight may be? For us at Bobbie, authenticity is showing up with the social good arm of our business, which is called Bobbie for Change, where we've picked pillars where we said, this is what we stand for, regardless of the administration, regardless of the changing tide. We're going to stand for paid leave for everybody, the Black maternal mortality crisis, which is disproportionately impacting women of color in this country, and breast cancer survivors, who we found out can get a free breast pump through insurance when they don't have breasts because they've undergone a mastectomy, and no coverage for formula or donor milk to feed their babies. Massive policy gap. So we partnered with a nonprofit. We said, what are we going to do? We're going to sponsor their feeding journeys for an entire year on Bobbie. This started with 5 moms before we ever even had a product on the shelf or online. We've now sponsored more than 500 moms with a full year of formula and giving back to the nonprofits. And yeah, it's great because people are like, yeah, you could just write a check and give it to Susan G. Komen, but that's easy to do and anybody can do that. What can we do and like what lives can we actually touch? And how do we then share that story with our community in a very authentic way? So I want to share with you guys this video, which is, again, we have, I think people think that we're like a very like huge formula company. We're not. We're still a very mom-founded and loved scrappy. So we took Carly Kloss, beautiful supermodel who's fed her baby Bobbie, no makeup on a Zoom call with our founder. We brought these women in who were finding out as breast cancer survivors that they were going to get a free year of formula. And then we just take this and we record it on Zoom and we share it with our community. And it's part of our organic marketing. And it's continued to build awareness for what we stand for. And when you purchase our product, you're helping women like this. So now you can play the video.
Hit it.
My mom was 35 years old when she was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And so her strength and your strength stays with me. I had the amazing opportunity to read some of your application stories. So I want to talk with some of you and let you share part of your story yourself.
I was hearing the words that so many of us on this call have heard, which are, you have cancer.
And I knew when I had my mastectomy that breastfeeding would be taken off the table if I did have children one day.
And then at 23 weeks pregnant, I was diagnosed with stage 1 ovarian cancer. I did 3 rounds of chemo while pregnant, and then I had a cesarean hysterectomy.
We've been in the NICU since last Saturday when my little girl was born 6 weeks early, 2 days after our 8th round of chemo together.
Bobbie actually received a record number of applicants this year, 121 incredible women. Thank you all for sharing your stories with us. You are all receiving the sponsorship.
Oh my God.
Wow. Congratulations, you are all Bobbie mommies.
Remember this, nourishing your babies and your peace of mind, you mom, will be one of our greatest honors.
Woo! Well done.
Thank you. And I just want to say that sometimes it's like finding a customer that we were already serving. Like this person was probably coming to buy Bobbie, and many of these moms might give us their full year subscription if we didn't have this program. But when you help a community who doesn't feel seen, who feels lost within the system, who you can highlight and amplify and truly be there for them, it feels so fucking good, you guys. Like it feels so good to actually be a brand that does something and helps a single person. So my encouragement would be like, don't be like, oh, it's not enough. Like it's always enough is something as long as there's a story to tell on the other end of like whose life has been impacted by your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all my panelists here, to this dinner conversation we had. Thank you all for your attentiveness, and yeah, go out there and connect with your consumer.
Thank you.